Back in 2010, 11, 12, new work was an absolute rarity. The very beginning of the Composer in Residence program started with a conversation with Susan Fetter at the Mellon Foundation. They called and said that they were looking at making investments in new work practice, and they would want to know if they were to make an investment in us what that might be. And so we all sat around at the table, the artistic folks and myself, and started thinking about why contemporary work wasn't working. In Verdi's day and other great composers' days, they had publishers. And the publishers supported these composers through thick and thin. And they were able to build a body of work. But in contemporary life, everything has to be a hit. So we thought, well, what about if we acted like the publishers in a 21st century way? And we provided that we're with you, we're gonna help your discovery, you're gonna learn things, and we're just gonna kind of keep the public out of it for a bit so that there was a safety and there wasn't judgment. They made a $1.5 million investment over years. That allowed us to hire a new works administrator. It allowed us to put infrastructure in place. It allowed us to pay living wages to the composers. It allowed us to do training and support for them. And that was the start.
So when I began at Opera Philadelphia, the company hadn't produced a world premiere in almost 3 decades.
This program has been one of our major engines at getting our contemporary work out in the world, and really out in the world. I did the math, and we're still counting, but it's 300 performances across 8 countries of 72 independent production runs, of which many are from our Composer in Residence program. This program achieved a goal we didn't even really set for ourselves. It started out to be an act of discovery, and what it's ended up being is the fuel in adding to the contemporary canon internationally.
In conservatory and university, it's like I don't really know of any program where composers study opera or learn in an intense way how to write opera.
The Composer in Residence program is such a special program because it fills sort of a gaping hole between our composers' sort of academic education and the professional world. There's all these training programs for singers and almost none for composers.
Living day to day as a composer contains a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of misapprehension, and a lot of time devoted to doing things other than composing.
It kind of feels like I'm getting another degree. I feel like I'm getting a degree that's particularly in opera writing today.
Puts the focus on learning and in a way kind of self-discovery. You sort of commiserate about how hard it is to write opera, and you get inspired by cool things that you get to see together, and you stay up way too late after an opening and drink probably more than you should. You should edit that part out.
It really does take time to understand this medium. It takes hours on the ground. It takes experience. It takes having input from a variety of different kinds of experts and artists. And most importantly, though, to really be successful in this art form, I feel like you need to have the space to kind of try and fail and find who you are, and do that in the context of a program where you might not just be constantly trying to put your stuff out in the world in a professional way. And that's, I think, to me, this Composer in Residency program, it afforded me the opportunity to try.
It's amazing to see someone live their purpose, and that's what a lot of these people are doing.
I'll never forget, I was outside the Perlman at one of these, and there was a elderly woman with a walker, and she was coming for me. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna put on the skin armor, and the finger came up. She pointed at me and she said, I didn't think there were any more new experiences left for me. And you just gave me one, and thank you.
The composer in residence program completely changed my life. I remember putting that application in the mail and thinking, this is never going to work. Like, this is such a long shot, but I'm just going to try. I look back at my life, and that was the time that everything changed. I don't talk about this that much, but it was financial support, and that was really significant to me. It was a salary, which was like the first consistent salary of my adult life. It was health insurance. And 3 years of that was enough to get me off of this treadmill of living paycheck to paycheck, gig to gig. And so I just think it's worth mentioning. So artists, if you just have a little bit of that for a little bit of time where you don't have to spend half your day worrying about how you're going to buy groceries and pay your bills and still have time to be creative, that's a huge gift. If this program can do that for me, and if it can do even a tenth of that for other artists, then it's completely vital and necessary in this field. For me, that was, I was able to feel comfortable enough to really tackle my first large-scale opera, Breaking the Waves, and the success of that piece and the supported nature of that premiere led me to a career writing opera. It's not all that I do, but it is a huge part of what I do. And I'm currently working on my 5th opera, and it's for the Met. And that was something that I would have never, ever imagined when I started this program. Looking back at Breaking the Waves, it feels like this idyllic time. And Opera Philadelphia sent us to Scotland, which again was also so luxurious and amazing to have that opportunity to be in the space where the opera took place. And I think that informed in a really profound way the way that I wrote the opera. And that landscape really worked its way into the score itself.
You can hear the sweeping waves and the sound of the wind and the water hitting the cliffs. It's very palpable sitting at the table with her and hearing it for myself for the first time. I just kind of looked over at her and gave her this huge smile and wink, and we just kind of shared this moment.
The opening night of Breaking the Waves was the most scary and exhilarating thing of my career. And by scary, I don't mean bad. It's just we knew this piece was so good, and you develop it and you just want everyone to love it as much as you do. Within the first, I would say 5 or 6 bars, I just felt the whole audience just go, you just feel everyone's there and they were brought into it.
And I went up to David Devan and I said, this is the best night of my entire life. And I'll never forget it. He said, mine too. The opera opens with an aria called His Name is Jan. This is the first thing anyone hears in the opera. It's an aria for Bess, a character that was premiered in 2016 by the amazing Kira Duffy. And we are watching Bess ask the church elders for permission to marry this man that she's in love with, Jan.
my shaggy faced man, my strange, beautiful music. His name is His name sounds like church bells. Yum, 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 yum. God has given me a man. You do not know him. A Norwegian man. With your permission, with your permission.
By 2014, I had written 3 operas, actually, Soldier Songs, Dog Days, and Winkensport. There was a little bit of sort of connection to the operatic tradition, but not much. It was really, I was kind of working in a vacuum.
He's so exploratory, but yet very clear on like what he thinks he can do and what can be, that he creates this duality of possibility of clarity, but exploration and reverence for the form, but commitment to changing it in the way that like works for him.
You're sort of really being welcomed into this really forward-looking company that was going to have serious discussions about the operatic form and where it could go. And that was a discussion I was really hungry for at that time. And I think it was described maybe when I first came in, or some conversation as a kind of the building of an ecosystem to transform an industry. And it is that. It created its own world, and we were all very lucky to inhabit it together. It's just the involvement, just being able to go to rehearsals, to be able to say, hey, I can stop by, can I sneak into the show and just see it, you know, and to feel that I was always welcome to observe or to participate in some capacity, and to really be welcomed into the Opera Philadelphia family in a very real and open, sincere way. Everybody's really cool, so that's also really nice. Except that David Hertzberg guy. That guy. No, I love David Hertzberg. Cut that out, please. No, he's my favorite. I love him. JFK is a grand opera that Royce Favrick and I wrote together. It premiered in 2016, and it's really a fantasia on a historical moment. It looks at John F. Kennedy's last 12 hours before he was assassinated in Dallas, and he spent much of that time in Fort Worth. The aria we'll hear tonight, it's called You Shiver, and it's Jackie's aria just before intermission. So at this point in the opera, Jack We've been in his sort of nightmarish dream states, and he has passed out on the bathroom floor of the Hotel Texas. The Secret Service carry him to the bed where Jackie sings to him, believing that he cannot hear her.
You shiver, mumble childhood stories. Where are you, Jack? Where has your mind taken you? Down some deep nocturnal labyrinth, sleeps subconscious corridors. Look at you, American phenomenon. Where are you, Jack? Where has your mind taken you? You may not hear me, but you must hear me out. I shut my eyes, cover my ears, my heart in shreds. Let the suggestion, the mere suggestion of again and again and again and again and again and again and husband and wife, we will do this, Jack. I commit myself again and again.
My dream of writing for opera started when I was in high school. So it's just always been something that I saw myself doing at some point. I had been following the program, and my good friend Tyshawn Sori was a composer in residence at the time. And so it was just very exciting news to see, because I love the work that Opera Philadelphia does. And I've been really excited to get into opera writing. I've always been drawn to collaborative works, and opera is one of those genres that I like, that I've always been excited about. I think when it comes to opera, I don't know if everyone feels like opera is for them, or they feel welcome to that world of opera. It's not like seen as something that's been inclusive. I think what's important as people continue building within the opera field and bringing different voices into the opera field is that it's good to kind of show what's happening today in opera.
I've been a fan of Courtney Bryan for a long time. She's brilliant, but she's also just incredibly insightful and kind and gracious. One of the other people I was interested in for the first year of the digital commissions was her. She's written for voice, she's written for a lot of things, but the opportunity to create opera and theater in this way and work in the fashion that the residency supports really well, I thought could benefit her greatly.
I think a lot of us were figuring out how we could create during this time. It was just such a overnight change in all of our lives, the pandemic, and we didn't even know how long it was gonna be that way. But I got the call, and that was really exciting opportunity, especially the openness of the commission. The way that Tiana captured the images is such a document of that time, and it's pretty emotional to watch it looking back, because it was like a very particular time at the height of the pandemic. Blessed was inspired not only by that time of the pandemic that we were in, but it was inspired by words from the Bible from Matthew 5, known as the Beatitudes. So that became the core inspiration for the piece, for the music, for the images, and the whole approach. Improvisation was a big part of the whole process, and social distancing was a big part of thinking about how to put the music together. What you're going to hear tonight are two of the main themes from Blessed. These themes were expanded upon in the 20-minute version that we did, but we'll do a version that is a bit shorter tonight, but really gives you an idea of what those key themes of the piece are.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed Lord, the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you, and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you.
Up until the time of this residency, I think my creative trajectory as a composer had been all about orchestral music and some instrumental music. I remember being very excited to sort of get my toe in the water of the theatrical world and to see how work is made in these environments. I do remember thinking that it was going to be a truly life-changing and career-changing and creativity-changing time in my life.
Andrew is incredible, but really came from such a symphonic world and background. Opera was very different for him. And so talking with someone who's really now being immersed in opera and talking about what that looks like is, it was really fun to do with him because that brain is insane.
And I also really, really loved that it was tailored to each individual composer because each of us had very different interests in the operatic world and goals, and it felt very much like it was there for us to use and create what we needed.
It is highlighted as it's an individual creative development program, meaning that everyone's going to come in with different tools and opportunities, and we're there to foster that, augment it, challenge and push a little bit, and then figure out areas in which they haven't had a lot of experience and dig in with them and get them that experience. It's a lot of observance, right? They spend a lot of time observing how rehearsals work, how workshops run, how an organization puts a commission or a production together from the very beginning to the end. They take voice lessons. That is pretty unheard of for anyone that's not a singer to take a voice lesson.
I also remember taking vocal lessons, which was like beyond frightening. I think opened up such a sense of empathy from me about what it takes to open your mouth and let sound out. Without this residency, I may still be writing opera or get to it someday, but I don't think I would have thought of it as this space for incredible creativity and personal expression that I do now. A Trip to the Moon is an opera for families that takes as its inspiration a very early silent film by Georges Méliès called A Trip to the Moon. It's about a group of magical and bumbling astronomers who shoot themselves to the moon and discover a whole civilization of moon people there, and then they end up coming back to the Earth. In my version of this story, Georges Méliès is actually a character who goes with the group of astronomers as their documentarian. And in this scene that you're about to hear, Georges comes across a moon person for the first time. Her name is Eowa. She's singing in a language called Moonish, which I sort of invented. It's a whole way that the moon people communicate with one another, and Georges is kind of hiding behind a rock trying to figure out what to do, and that's where this scene takes off.
I think I'll just back away now.
Georges.
Yes, Georges.
Georges.
No. Georges.
Georges.
Yes.
I think I was so excited to join the Composer in Residence program for two reasons. One is that I didn't know how else I was going to get into opera, or how I understood what this meant for the opportunities, both the connections and the people I would meet, but also just the opportunity to experiment and to practice and to get better at writing opera. And the second reason was sort of you might say a superficial one, but really important to me at the time. I was doing the calculation in my head of how many years I could focus on writing and wouldn't have to worry about money. And that just felt like an incredible opportunity. One thing that was really special about the program was how many different ways I felt I was learning and different ways I was interacting with the world of opera. I remember just learning about voices in a way I had never learned before.
Lembit and I would get into very deep philosophical conversations about what's possible. And he would just sit in my office and we would dialogue. And one of my favorite memories with Lembit is well before Sky on Swings was an opera and even an idea, Lembit was interested in exploring memory and memory loss.
So Sky on Swings is an opera that I don't think could have come about through a normal commissioning process. Opera Saratoga did a second production of Sky on Swings, and someone came up to me after that and said, I think she was maybe in her late 70s or 80s and said, oh, my husband died of Alzheimer's 20 years ago. And I think after seeing her piece, I understand what he was going through a little bit more, or I have more empathy for his struggles and things that I was initially just angry at him for. I think I understand. And that felt incredibly moving.
The opening night of Sky on Swings was really emotional for a bunch of reasons. First of all, Lembit was our first composer in residence. He'd been working with memory as an idea for years, the subject nature, the directness and future of the production. For me, it was emotional because as a company, we were able to harness history in the service of the future. And that was pretty magical.
The Sky on Swings is an opera that deals with two women with Alzheimer's and their relationship. It tries to imagine the experience of what it would be like to have Alzheimer's. In little moments during the opera, you see glimpses of the effect of the disease on the people who surround the protagonists. In scene 3, we see Winnie, who is the daughter of one of the main characters, Martha. And Winnie was this really beautiful text written by Hannah Moscovich, who is a librettist. Winnie reflects on these sort of subtle ways in which her mother's condition has sort of infiltrated her own life, and those ways in which her life has sort of started to be defined in many ways by the disease.
been like that.
I went to go see that first double exposure program. On the way back, I shared a cab with the ever ebullient and fabulous Sarah Williams, who sold me hook, line, and sinker on the program.
David had such an experience already in opera and understanding of opera. He was already immersed in it. He has a really, really big imagination. And I think needed a company that can, and people to foster that.
I really, I just sort of hit the ground running with the residency program. I had a lot of energy to write opera, which I felt I was filled with. I always loved that music more than anything. That very first double exposure program was just like such a personal and kind of like creative like watershed for me.
The double exposure program is a program within the composer in residence program when we take two composers and they each have a 10 to 20 minute scene, but we do it twice. And we hire two different directors and two different casts of singers to perform it. This is one of my probably favorite programs that we've done in the composer in residence program. And it highlights artistic interpretation, which is a big part of what we do.
I just think about the residency as being sort of my, whatever, I don't know, what is this gesture? My send off into the world a little bit, because I went directly from, what was like a kind of graduate diploma school, I'm from school to this. Maybe like 50% of my career so far has been that was while I was a resident, and obviously gave me a platform to do like what I really wanted to do in my life and what I am currently pursuing. Yeah, it's hard to imagine it without the residency.
The Wake World was a different production because its roots were so different. So the history of that is, sat down with David and said, hey, would you go to the Barnes? We'll set you up with a curator, and will you look and find some paintings that might inspire you to write something modest for our festival? I knew everyone was going to love it. I just felt it in my bones just from the workshops.
One thing that was really incredible about that is we all are walking around the space taking in the performance. So is David Hertzberg. And sometimes I would stand right next to him and we would just be watching his opera unfold. Sometimes I was at the other end and I would see him kind of floating around. So he also is able to viscerally feel what the audience is experiencing because he's literally immersed within the audience. I think it naturally changed a lot of the ways that our audiences think of us and expect from us in our performances.
The excerpt you're about to hear comes from my chamber opera called The Rose Elf, which premiered in the catacombs of Greenwood Cemetery in 2018. And the opera is inspired by a fairy tale of Hans Christian Andersen and tells the story of a strange, magical, sensuous being who witnesses a horrific act of human violence and is transformed by it. And the passage you're about to hear in a reduction for voice and piano comes from the end of the opera and speaks to that reckoning.
I cannot leave her bereaved. My heart aches for the grieving girl. I must go to her bedside and comfort her as I can. And let me whisper to you about the quiet love of the elves. Wherein happier days you have laid and dreamt in the cool shade of the garden above, overgrown with honeysuckle. There elves make their little homes, coddled by the blades and nestled in the sweet fragrance of the sprawling flowers. They scutter and whisk about the roads and paths in the green veins of the linden leaves. They shiver when the dew falls and when the wind blows, and rejoice in the midday sun on the wings of butterflies. And in the fullest, most abundant bloom, roses stretch their pale limbs to greet the warm embrace of the midday sun. see themselves behind each and every rose petal, whose flesh is more supple than the softest earth, bathing in its sweet perfume, and in a perfect simple happiness sink softly into silent sleep. She's gone now. The blooming girl. How you've blossomed, how you've disguised your beautiful white bells. I suppose you have no other way to cry over the dead.
In undergrad, we were required to go to whatever X number of opera performances every year and like every, music program. And I hated it so much. It's so funny because I love opera now. I actually got started in composing pretty late, I think, for a composer. After my undergrad, kind of floundered around, wasn't sure what to do, and I got into audio engineering. So I went to audio engineering school, Media Tech Institute, and my favorite course was sound design.
Renee has always been really interested in electronics, in sound design. We really wanted to augment and support her in figuring out how does it work when you add electronics and sound elements in a different way to opera. It's a necessary thing in the world today and how people are writing. Why can't that be fostered more in opera? There's no reason that it shouldn't be.
I was able to take Ableton lessons. I was able to experiment with a choir for a workshop. I was able to write a piece for Anthony Roth Constanzo, who kind of read through some stuff. All of these things help shape what I'm able to do today. I want to combine these worlds to produce that sound and that music.
The other thing why it's important for us to do is because we can. We have more flexibility in our artistic practice, and that robustness and flexibility allows us to be artist-centered and to allow all these composers to find their own voice. And I think that's what makes us uniquely qualified to do this, and also why it's a calling that we must meet.
Probably the best thing about the Composers in Residence program is the encouragement and the freedom to take risks and to fail. And I think through those 3 years, I was able to really explore things that I wouldn't have been able to if it had just been a commission and a production. I happened to be scrolling on social media, as one does. Someone had posted about Nellie Bly. 10 Days in a Madhouse is based loosely on the memoir that Nellie Bly wrote in the late 1800s, 10 Days in a Madhouse. It's a perfect story about, a strong woman putting herself into a dire situation in the name of social justice, which is everything I care about. I've been working on this piece since 2018. That's 5 years. The world has changed a lot with COVID, but I know I've also changed as a human. As my librettist pointed out, I started out with 0 kids, and now I'm about to have 3. So I'm a different human. I think I'm so thankful for that time and that transformation, just to have been able to pour all of this, and as ideas have kind of come and gone, this is a piece I feel really good about. I feel confident about, and I'm really excited to share this world. I just can't wait to share it. One of the characters in 10 Days in a Madhouse is Lizzie, who's been placed in the asylum because she was too emotional after the death of her 4-year-old daughter. She sings an aria about it in scene 6 after Nellie Bly says, "Why are you here?" Lizzie then kind of relives the experience again. And that's what this aria is about.
She
Opera was something that I've always wanted to engage in on some level, but I never had the platform to be able to explore this field. What better platform to do it than with Opera Philadelphia, who has always been about innovation, that has always been about moving the genre forward, that always celebrates the work of living composers and also composers of color, performers of color. This was something that was of great importance to me.
Tyshawn and I had just an immediate connection and understanding, and I'm such a big fan of his.
The week of March 13th, 2020 was actually a very intense time. We were in the middle of the pandemic. You know, it was like things were shutting down left and right.
Literally the week the pandemic happened, we had a workshop with Tyshawn. We actually had to end it early. And we brought Michael Sumuel in. Michael had no time to learn it or anything like that. It was the end of a long day, and all the other singers and everybody else left. It was just our pianist Grant, Tyshawn, and myself. And I was listening to this song that Tyshawn was just writing, and I was just floored. I had chills the entire time. It's like such a privilege when you're in a space that you're experiencing someone's work, and to that caliber while they're still writing it, to have that insight into what's possible. It's an incredible memory.
In spite of the pandemic happening, Opera Philadelphia and we kept going. We carried everything forward, and we kept everything moving as best as we could, and I think that we've made a great accomplishment altogether.
When we, Opera Philadelphia, created the digital channel, and I started creating the digital commissions, and one of the first people I thought of when coming up with that program was Tyshawn.
The whole digital work, and I mean, it's opened up a world for composers because we've got digital commissions in addition to the Composers in Residence program. And Save the Boys really grew out of Cycles of My Being.
Creating this work directly for film at the very beginning stage of the pandemic was powerful. And I also feel that you can see the impact the Composer in Residence program had in his vocal writing in a way that it exists longer and people have access to it worldwide is powerful.
I'm a firm believer in collaboration and developing work through collaboration because, after all, I am also of the belief that music is about people. And without people, the notes on any page mean nothing. I mean, it actually means nothing without having, collaborators really bring the music to life. Cycles of My Being is a song cycle that I composed for Opera Philadelphia that was commissioned by Opera Philadelphia. It was performed in 2018 at the Kimmel Center in Philadelphia, and it features Lawrence Brownlee, who contributed some of the texts, as well as text by Terrence Hayes, a great poet and writer. And Cycles of My Being talks about Black male subjectivity in the United States today, and it touches on topics such as hate, the hate that is expounded upon us, African Americans. It also talks about what it means to wake up every day and hope for a better day. How the idea of hope or whatever, how it can be a swagger, how hope is the meaning of life, what life feels like. And what you will hear is the fifth movement of Cycles of My Being, titled Hope Part 2, with text composed by Lawrence Brownlee.
When frustrated hope is calm, when unsure hope is certainty. When worried hope is serenity. When betrayed hope becomes forgiveness, when depleted hope is reserve, when dancing hope becomes grace. When fatigued hope is a second wind, when dead hope is life.
All the composers that are working in the Composer in Residence program are true to themselves. So they are writing music and telling stories of things that are important to them. And they're living, breathing human beings that are anywhere between young and middle-aged. And so they have a view of the world that is very much today. And I think whether they're writing on chamber work, site-specific work, or for the Academy of Music, it has their perspective, it has their life experience. And that is different than the composers that preceded them.
There's now a systemic challenge of what is needed, what audiences want, what creative artists want, what's possible in opera, and why it's important to keep propelling the art form forward.
Being accepted to the Composer in Residence program was incredibly exciting, but I think even more than just the excitement of having an opportunity or sort of being picked for something, is the realization of what that meant in a larger scale.
If you want to push the field further, you want to push boundaries, you have to take risks. So you need these programs to take whatever risk as far as the composer wants to go. They know how far they're willing to go, how far they can go for their piece to be a success, whatever success means to them.
In a very real way, Opera Philadelphia is an inspiring place, and getting to see it up close, getting to see David and his amazing team, and you, Sarah, all working together, it provides me inspiration even from my far distance, wherever I happen to be living, of just knowing that there are people working at the highest level of this medium who really care about its future, about moving it, about shaping the creators of the future.
Residencies are important for the composer as far as growth as an artist, and it's also important as someone that could maybe inspire others who would like to pursue a similar path.
So I thought we really had an opportunity to make something special, to try to find a form that maybe was in some ways rooted in an operatic tradition. It was an incredible gift to be able to try to wrest meaning into a new form, and that is what I love so much about opera, is that possibility of this collective dream.
This is an opportunity to develop real relationships with the performers and with the Opera Philadelphia creative team and everybody.
I think it's kind of inviting audiences to come on the journey with us and trust us.
So general director's supposed to, part of their job is thanking people, which I do all the time. But I really want to thank people, really, because what we've accomplished and what we've done in supporting these artists was unthinkable at this company 15 years ago. And it's had lots of trials and tribulations. It's art. When I take a moment like this and just stop and think about what everyone put into it, I just can't find more words. So, thanks. And with that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We, on behalf of all of us, we are so honored you're here. Thank you for being here. Before you depart, I would like to invite the composers up for one last final bow. Please join me on stage.